the absolute worst case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think in my head, when it comes to Aaron Donald, which we talked about last week, Aaron Donald possibly, being on the trade market, and both of us agreeing that the Pittsburgh Steelers could and should definitely make a move. And I think that that's an open mind that they will go into the trade deadline with if he is on the trading block. There is another team that also believes that they could be in the hunt for Aaron Donald. That team is the Cleveland Browns. Pete Smith of Browns Digest over at the Fan Nation group wrote an entire article about how the Cleveland Browns have the pieces to the puzzle to make a trade happen. They have the cap space. They have the whole nine. It fits perfectly. Quote, there may be several teams that could add Donald, but the Browns are certainly one of them. They have cap space and flexibility to add more, something they are likely to do anyway with the contract of Myles Garrett. They have picks and potentially even young players if they were so inclined. Not having a first-round pick in 2024 is a potential stumbling block, but they could do what the Rams did themselves, offering picks that they have in the future. Meanwhile, they also have a second and third-round picks that they can package in a few years if necessary. The Cleveland Browns, while we don't know what would happen, I think there is one team that would be the absolute worst for the Steelers, and that would be the Cincinnati Bengals. But I think that if you were going to put Aaron Donald on one team and upset Steelers fans the most, it will be the Cleveland Browns, and I don't even think that's close.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Yeah, I mean, that defensive line is already scary enough, having to play them twice, in the same year with a rookie quarterback, a questionable offensive line. Even if it did get better, you still don't really know exactly what it's going to be. Yeah, would not want him on the Browns.
Nope.
At all if I was a Steelers fan.
No.
This is just I feel like that having no 2024 first round pick, that's, I don't know, that seems like a real big hurdle for the Browns to overcome if they did want to trade for Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
If I'm the Rams, I don't know, why would I not, I get it, Pete made some good arguments in there about being able to trade him out of the division and even out of your conference. So you really are not worrying about, but also if you're the Rams, what do you mean? You're
not rebuilding with the hopes that Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Donald keeps you out of the playoffs the next 2 years before he retires. I agree.
Yeah. But also, I don't know, I'd go somewhere where I can get a better pick immediately, because I also think even if the Browns aren't what some people think they are or what they can be on paper, that pick is not, any of their picks are not going to be great. They're going to be mid first round. They're not.
Yeah.
You're not getting into the top 10 with the Cleveland Browns pick, I don't think.
No, but I don't think you're getting up there anyways. I agree with the first round pick. I think that's a huge hurdle that they might not be able to overcome. And I think that that's a stumbling block. Yes. A major, possibly breaking point. Yes. But I do think that, nobody in the top 10 is trading for Aaron Donald, especially in week 8. It's going to be a team that's pushing for the playoffs, really thinks that they have a shot, really thinks that they have the team, and he's the missing superstar to rise them to the top and so on and so forth. So I think that you are getting a back end first round pick, which maybe helps them. But at that point, if the Cleveland Browns are looking for Aaron Donald and it's week 8 and you're only offering a second round pick, that's essentially almost a third round pick. You're the back half of the second round is where you're going to start with Aaron Donald. And then are you going to give up a first in the future? You're giving up multiple firsts in the future. You're giving up young guys. I think our conversation with the Steelers was they do have the trade pieces. They do have the guys in place to make a trade possible. They also have the picks, but I think it's a happy back and forth where you could, maybe just offer a first round and a player, or a first and a second, or, first and a future. But to have to package things around a second round pick means that you're giving up quite a bit. And, that's a scary situation. But at the same time, Myles Garrett, Za'Darius Smith, who else is on this roster right now? It's Davlin Tomlinson. I forgot that they signed him this offseason. And then you add Aaron Donald to that mix. I don't care how good the Steelers offensive line is. That is awful. That is a very, very scary situation.
Yeah. And when are I don't have the Steelers schedule in front of me, but they play, I feel like a lot of their divisional games are backloaded,
Oh yeah.
Because they might get the Browns twice after the trade deadline, if I'm not.
They do get them. They get them week 2.
Week
2 is a Monday night game. They'd go so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So week 7, they would play the Rams. So they'd probably have to play Aaron Donald. And then if he's traded to the Green Bay Packers, they play him again like 4 weeks later in Cleveland on a Sunday afternoon game. So they could face Aaron Donald twice in a span of like 4 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That'd be bad. That'd be terrible.
That would be bad. Yeah, and then he goes. You face him once. That's bad enough. But then he would go to a better defensive line where you have less. You can allocate less resources to block him.
And have 3 weeks to accommodate himself to the team. So it's not like he's like fresh, like limited snap count. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. Like no, you're getting full. You're getting full Aaron Donald in the mix of Myles Garrett, Davlin Tomlinson, and Za'Darius Smith. Would be highly unlike or highly unideal for, is that the word, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you probably have to play them in the playoffs too, because if you're trading for Aaron Donald, you believe that you're getting into the postseason. I mean, that would suck. And then just for Pitt fan, I mean, you know more than I. Like for the city of Pittsburgh, man, to watch him go win a ring with the Cleveland Browns would just be
to do anything about it. For a Pittsburgh native guy, stayed at home to play his college ball, and then like at least with there's no the Rams and Steelers like very rarely, if ever, cross paths. So like people were able to, if you're like a combination like Steelers and Pitt fan or whatever, you could root for that guy pretty easily and not worry about like, oh, is this affecting my team? No, like you could kind of unabashedly like pull for him, but you know. If he goes to Cleveland, that completely turns it on its head, and that would be a bummer.
That is the worst case scenario. You know, like I grew up, and there were the Baltimore Ravens got me angry. Like just like, oh, I cannot. Like that's the game where you're like, you know, like upsettingly, I was a child, but like you're like punching walls and throwing stuff, and you're very angry during the Baltimore Ravens games. Cincinnati Bengals games, you just like hated them because they were at the time they were very disrespectful. They were a dirty team. But like that's all it was. You were just like, these guys are just rats, bunch of rats. The Cleveland Browns, man, even when the Steelers just dominated the Browns for like my entire childhood, if you asked me what team I hated the most in the NFL, the answer was the Cleveland Browns. And I think that still holds true today. Like I think Pittsburgh Steelers fans, there is one team that holds ground above the rest when it comes to just like a distaste, and it is the Cleveland Browns. So a possible storybook ending for Aaron Donald could turn into a nightmare very, very fast for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their fans. And that would just, man, that would be a bummer. Imagine you meet the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs, divisional round, maybe it's the AFC Championship game. Maybe Jason McIntyre is right, and they find their way to the AFC Championship game, and across from them is Aaron Donald and the Cleveland Browns, and he's the reason that they don't make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Whew. He just sacks Kenny Pickett like 5 times. He has like, like 8
just
tackles
like the end
for
of the
loss.
Super Bowl where he got Joe Burrow and that was it. And oh my gosh, I don't even think you come back to the city of Pittsburgh. Like I think that at that moment you're just like there's such a different feel for Aaron Donald that I just hope we don't ever get to experience. But it's got tossed out there, and the Cleveland Browns will certainly be aggressive if they feel that's the missing piece of the puzzle. But a long way from there. Just fun conversation as we approach this last week before training camp.